Our next presentation will be from Mr. David Avrin, who will be speaking to us on It's Not Who You Know, It's Who Knows You. How to attract the best patients by building your brand. Is the president of Visibility International. He is a certified safety professional. He's an in-demand marketing and customer experience keynote speaker who has presented for nearly a dozen dental study clubs across America. His business insights have been featured on hundreds of broadcast media, online, and print publications. He is also the author of 3 books, including the acclaimed It's Not Who You Know, It's Who Knows You, and his latest, Visibility Marketing. Please welcome Mr. David Avrin with a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's been a long day, hasn't it? Everybody's tired. I get that. Listen, I'm not a dentist. I'm not a doctor. I'm a marketing guy. I want to talk about how do we build our practices. I've sat here for the entire afternoon watching some fascinating presentations, feeling not nearly as intelligent as those in this room. But what I found was some amazing advice in terms of clinical expertise and how do you manage a particular patient? How do you achieve a successful outcome? But of course, we can't do great work unless we have the patient to do the work. And as implant dentistry expands, and it's not just the prosthodontist and the periodontist, it's the general dentist, it's everybody who's represented in this room. The question is, what makes you a better choice than all of the other choices? If I am, whether it's from a referral perspective or whether it's from a self-referring perspective, how do you become that better choice in a sea of good choices? Now, in most cases, you would say that everybody's good. This is pretty complex, isn't it? It's a little bit of a self-selecting audience. You're certainly better as a result of coming to GDIA. You're better as a result of hearing the clinical best practices and the case studies. But as a layperson, as a prospect who may need this kind of work, how do I know who you are? How do I know who is a better choice? That's what I want to talk about in the very brief time I have this afternoon. I want to talk about a shift in the marketplace, a really profound shift that's occurred over the last probably 10, 20 years. And it's not the shift from agricultural to industrial. It's not the shift from analog to digital, very profound, but a really remarkable shift from selling to buying. And here's what I mean. This is about the mindset of your prospects. We're used to buying. Now, yesteryear, of course, was the age of the salesperson. We relied on salespeople to educate us about products and services and features and benefits. We needed their expertise. How has the world changed? Our access to information, online and otherwise, is profound. We look back to ancient times, and it was always about sales, right? You see those open-air marketplaces. You see it depicted in the movies. People shouting to get your attention, to bring you in their booth, to show you their wares. We used to walk into an appliance store in the 50s and 60s, and some teenager would teach us about this new range or this refrigerator, or for those of us who are old enough to remember when stereos were the size of a piece of furniture, right? We relied on these people to explain them to us. We used to walk into a car dealership, much as we do today, but it was different in very recent yesteryear. We'd walk into a car dealership and we'd look across the showroom floor and we'd see some cool cars, and we'd kind of zero in on one of them, and we'd walk around it, and then we'd get inside and kind of play with the steering wheel, think this feels pretty good. But then we would motion to the salesperson who's kind of hovering nearby, and we'd say, "So, tell us about this car." We don't do that anymore, do we? We walk in that dealership, we know everything about that car. We probably know the features and benefits, the trim packages available, the financing options, probably comparable models from other manufacturers or dealers. We probably know what the dealer paid for that car, right? And we're not going to pay a penny more. We used to walk into a doctor's office, and we'd say, "Doctor, here's what I'm feeling, here's what I'm experiencing, tell me what's wrong with me." Now, how often do patients walk in and say, "Okay, here's what's wrong with me, here's the medication that I want," right? They're self-diagnosing. They saw something online. They saw a TV commercial. We got a spouse or a partner sitting in the waiting room going, don't you leave without antibiotics. They're going to say no, but if you stand strong, they'll cave eventually, right? The marketplace has become a grocery store. Think about it. We walk down the aisles of the grocery store and we buy things, right? Your regular grocery store in town, think Target, think Walmart, go big box, Sam's Club, Costco, more items, more options available than in the history of history. Now you have the internet and multiply it by 1 million. And in almost every case, there is nobody there to sell it to you. We go and we buy things. That's the mindset today. It's about convenience. It doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be a measure of explanation, but I'm talking about the mindset. And it's not just your patients, it's not just your prospects, but it's you as well. How often are we able to just find the information? We don't even need to leave the house. And it's not just to get the information without leaving the house. For many of us, we can buy the things we want without leaving the house. TV commercial after TV commercial that shows all the things that you can just have delivered to your house. Cars, you don't need a car dealership. You can see a doctor without having to, don't worry about it, I got it, guys. You can see a doctor without having to leave your home. You just do it on I was up in my hotel room yesterday, and I was able to call Teladoc and get a prescription for an antibiotic. Didn't need to see it. Now you think for dental, but now they have, what is it? Smile Direct. You've seen the commercials? You don't even need to see an orthodontist. You can do Invisalign type liners or movers. I'm going to get the terminology wrong. But you can see an orthodontist over your iPad or over the laptop. It's crazy. But that's the mindset. We want what we want. Are you seeing people being a little more impatient than they have in the past? Right? They want what they want, and they want when they want it now because they can. My friend Eric Chester speaks about Generation Y, the emerging generation. And he says, we stand in front of the microwave going, come on, come on, come on, I haven't got all minute. Right? But it's not just the millennials, it's all of us. Never before has it been more important is the brand. Now understand when I'm talking about brands, I'm not talking about your logo and I'm saying what comes to mind at the mention of your name. Because there's marketing people that would have you believe that this is very complicated, and it's not. We've always had brands. We grew up with brands. We ate Kellogg's cereals, we rode Schwinn bicycles, we stayed at a Howard Johnson's. I know those very American references, but I'm saying they were consumer brands. And then about 20, 30 years ago, we started talking about brands and branding as it pertained to business ventures. This is a little bit new. And then individuals, right? We're a brand, apparently. In my world, because I owned a marketing firm 30 years ago, it was the golden age. It was as if the clouds had parted and the angels were singing. We had discovered an amazing new concept. It was literally going to transform how we did business in the future. And then a little time and analysis, and we came to recognize that it wasn't anything new at all. It's not. You can loosely substitute the word reputation. Your brand is your reputation. My question for you is, what are you known for in the marketplace? And to be well known, you have to be well known for something. Beyond your quality and your commitment and your caring and your trust in your people and the things that we all like to talk about. What makes you not just good, my friends, but what makes you a better choice than the other good choices? Because everybody's good. Or at least good enough. And in the minds of your prospects, because I am uneducated. I know a lot about dentistry. I've done a dozen study clubs, but I'm still so naive, and I'm more knowledgeable than the general public. What's the determining factor? Who's the loudest voice in the marketplace? Who's doing the most promotion? Or can we make a compelling case that for the right patient, that we are a better choice than the other quality competitors that we have in the marketplace? Because here's the challenge. We're all in sales. Everything else that I've learned in the last 5 hours sitting here listening is about technique, is about the quality of the work that you do. But at the end of the day, we're all in sales. The business is getting the patient. What we've heard about today is the artistry and the science and the delivery. But this is about sales, and as we all know, in sales, there is no prize for second place. You get the patient or you don't. You make the sale or you don't. In sales, second place is the first loser. Not about self-esteem, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying first place eats. Second place watches them eat. It's the lion on the outside of the kill going, can I have... Because here's the thing is, for those of you in practice, you can do great work. As a result of GDIA and what you're going to learn here, you're going to do even better work. But you can't do any work if we don't have the patient. So in the very brief time and half hour I have left, I want to talk marketing. I want to talk about what does it take to stand out and stand apart in a marketplace with quality. Good news and bad news. Here's the good news. The good news is there's a lot of ways to do this right. There's a lot of ways to stand out and stand apart in a competitive marketplace. And as much as we are colleagues, we are competitors as well. A lot of ways to stand out. A couple of fundamental ways we fall short. At the most basic level, you want to screw this up, just underperform, right? For the purposes of today's presentation, we're going to assume everybody in the room is very good at what you do. This isn't good afternoon and welcome to clever marketing to mask deficiencies in your practice. It's not what we're doing here today. We're not putting lipstick on a pig. Everybody's good. The most common way that we fall short is that we're just a little complacent. Not in terms of working hard, everybody's working hard, but in terms of promoting the work that you do. Even though advertising and marketing is certainly prevalent, many of us grew up in a world where you didn't market. Doctors didn't market. It was seen as beneath them, and now, of course, it's a hyper-competitive marketplace. For those of you who think that it's about quality, I'm telling you that you're naive. I hear CEOs, and I work with a lot of different industries, business leaders who stand in front of their teams and they say, listen, friends, listen, folks, at the end of the day, it is about quality. And I couldn't disagree more. At the beginning of the day, it's about quality. Quality is the entry fee. At the end of the day, it's about competitive advantage. Not what you do well, but what do you do better than others? And maybe what you do better is just your communication. Maybe it's just your style or your prevalence. My connection to this organization is Dr. Jin Kim, and I worked with his periodontist group, and there is a level of sophistication and class and communication. I'm not just sucking up, just a little bit maybe, but for me, there's a brand there. There's something that's recognizable and memorable. In the market where you are, what do you do so well? And it's got to be something unique. And we can specialize in a particular demographic. We can specialize in proximity. We can specialize in technology, whatever that is. But as opposed to being a really good choice for a lot of things, what are you a great choice for? Good news, a lot of ways to do it right. Here's the bad news. And the bad news is sitting all around you. The bad news is everybody's good. At this level, now granted there's people who are newer within the craft, but at least good enough. And sometimes for your patients, for your prospects, good enough at a better price point is a good choice. Doesn't mean you can't be a premium provider in your space. You absolutely can. You just got to justify it. And it can't be lazy ways when we say, listen, our results speak for themselves. No, you have to speak for yourself. I get this all the time, and this is across industries. Our reputation speaks for itself. You know what that is? That's lazy. You have to, because you know why? And I don't mean to come in and sound harsh, because it's a cutthroat world. There are competitors in your market, whether they're dental specialists, whether they're general dentists, there's others who are trying to take your money. They're trying to take away your ability to pay your staff and pay your mortgage and feed your family and send your kids to college. It's not personal. They're just trying to feed their family and pay their staff and send their kids to college. I think there's enough work for everybody, or at least everybody who's really good at this. There's enough work. The problem is, as a prospect, when I hear you talk about your quality and commitment and caring and trust in people, I gloss over. You sound like everybody else who's saying that. And I'm thinking, okay, everybody's good, so if everybody's good, what's my criteria? then it's just price. If I believe what you're doing is essentially the same as everybody else in your market, in your specialty, if I believe you're the same, I am hammering you on price. Or I'm just calling and shopping around until I get a better price. But everybody's good. You know why everybody's good? Because if they weren't, the internet would out them. We're in a really interesting time. The internet outs underperformers. It's Yelp, it's TripAdvisor, it's Rotten Tomatoes, it's Glassdoor, right? Everybody feels an obligation. Anytime they're underserved, or at least a perception of being underserved, they share that information. In yesteryear, if somebody had a bad experience, we try and do what we can to make it right. And if they just keep complaining, at some point, you just got to write them off. Today, you can't write anybody off. And we're going to talk a little bit about that patient experience, but today everybody's good. The question is, in this marketplace where there's so many providers, and what used to be within the realm and the purview of the specialists is now being adopted in many cases by the general dentists, the competition is even more increased. So how do we stand out? How do we build that marketable, memorable reputation, that brand, in the face of all of that? 3 points in the 21 minutes I've got left. Number one, we have to transcend commodity. And you understand that there's a high duh factor to this one. We have to stand out when everybody's good. We know that. But how do we do that? Easier said than done. Seth Godin wrote a great book called Purple Cow. And in that book, he talked about a purple cow is remarkable in the sense that it's worthy of being remarked about. My question for you is, what are you doing in your practice that you're doing so well that would actually cause somebody to talk about you to someone else? Interesting criteria, isn't it? Not just what you're really good at. What are you doing that you do so well? And it can be the interpersonal, it can be the technology, it can be the decor, it can be the proximity. It just has to be something. Something that you can point to, whether it's intentional, ideally, or it is inadvertent, which is just lucky. What is it that would cause somebody, because we're very transactional in our lives, but how many of those do you recall? How many people have you interacted with in the days since you got to Anaheim? At the front desk, at the airport, in the Uber car, at the restaurant? How many of those interactions do you remember? Not many. But then all of a sudden there's something that's extraordinary. Even if it's extraordinarily bad, the things that we want to talk about, can we intentionally create those? Here's another way to put it. If you're writing things down, I think this is a good one. To what question are you the answer? I'll say it again and I'll explain it. To what question are you the answer? In other words, what question would I ask that would elicit your name as the best response? Not just a response, but as the best response. Like, I'm really struggling with blank. Oh, have you worked with Dr. Park? He's a rock star. He's really good at, right? What would cause sort of a consensus? Right, I'll give you an easy example. So if I was going to ask, if I need a safe car for my family, what's the safe car? Right, what's that brand that's really safe? Right, it's Volvo. Volvo, and if you're under 35 years old, you probably said Subaru or Toyota or something. But for us old people, it's Volvo. Volvo is that quintessential upper middle class, white, suburban Connecticut dad car. Right? It's boxy, it's safe. And of course, it's not what it is anymore, but that's what comes to mind because they earned it. Amazing safety innovations, late 60s, early 70s, they earned that. What happened? Well, the marketplace caught up, right? If technology is part of your brand, part of your differentiator, you have to stay on the forefront. And it's GDIA, it's conferences like this that help us do that. But what is it that makes you that better choice? Now, something that many of us know is that we have to take a step back. We're very close to our businesses. Look at all the touch points, every point where you connect with a prospect or a patient. From the time they decide that they're looking for a resource, maybe it's a referral through another dental professional. Because everybody's looking you up, by the way. Everybody is looking you up before they come in. They look to see if there's complaints. They look for the website. Does it look credible? Because this is scary stuff. I watched all afternoon. There's lots of blood. There's drilling. And with that comes that really long needle, or lots of them. This is scary. So they're looking you up. They're looking for that safe choice. Have you examined all those touch points from the first time they call? Who is that person answering the phone? Are we just extracting information, or are we finding ways to make them feel that level of comfort? From the time they come in for the first time, who's connecting with them? Who's talking to them? What's the follow-up? Everything else you're going to learn here is about quality outcomes. I'm talking about quality perception. And that's so good that it's really spurs them to talk about you to others as well. Because that safe choice in the marketplace is to be that specialist. Even if you're a general dentist, this level of specialization, the additional training that you have makes me feel safer, more comfortable. If you present yourself as we do everything for everybody, that's not nearly as safe as the person who specializes in this, even if you create a center of excellence within your practice. Because the specialist is the safer choice. All comes down to this, what I call the four most dangerous words in business, and we are all in business. Four most dangerous words. You ready? All things being equal. In my mind, if I'm a prospect, and I think you're all doing the same thing, or at least maybe the top 3 or 4 that I'm considering, then it is about price or proximity. Where's the cheapest? Whoever's the closest? Who in this room aspires to be the low-price leader in your category? Of course not. Doesn't mean the price is unimportant. Price is very important, but as long as you're priced competitively, then it's not about price. I've heard sales trainers and others who say, if you do X and Y, price is no longer an issue. You just took price off the table. That's baloney. Price is always important. It will always be important. But if you're comparable, it's not about price. It's about safety. How do I feel safe that I'm going to get the outcome that I want? You might have heard this before, that marketing is not a department. It's not to suggest you don't have a marketing department. Most don't, but you have a marketing person maybe. But it's the recognition and realization that marketing happens at every point of contact in your organization, every conversation, every time. I'm not talking about how does your receptionist answer the phone. That's customer service. Marketing is how we describe ourselves to others. Do we talk about our quality and commitment and caring and trust in people? Not that those are unimportant. They're incredibly important, but that's just the entry fee. Being really, really good at what you do is the entry fee. So what are the words that we use to describe what we do? Sometimes we get caught in the vernacular of our industry. Sometimes it's a little overly complex in terms of our terminology that causes that disconnect with those prospects. As we get down to their level, it's not about dummying it down. It's not idiot-proofing. It's just communicating authentically. I spoke to a study club in El Paso, Texas a week ago. This woman was talking about, different modalities with caries and blah, blah. I said, but nobody talks that way. Your patients don't know what caries are. She says, well, that's the term. I said, I know, but they gloss over. How do we lean in and have those conversations that are powerful for them? Here's our problem. This is what we hear. Here's our plague of blah, blah, blah. And we get this everywhere. Number one answer when I ask, and I've spoken in 23 countries around the world in the last 6 years, to every industry. Hospitality, hotel, financial services. And I ask them, I say, why you? What is it that makes your company different? And the number one answer, and it's number one by far, is they say at the end of the day, it's really about the people. And I'm like, really? Is it really about your people? Don't those people bear a striking resemblance to the people who work for your competitors? Come on. Stop pretending it's about your people. It's not about your people. They weren't raised on a special customer service island in big open air courtyards of like ninja training customer service for the first 20 years of their life. And then at 21 years old, you are now ready to go. Go, spread your, right? They're people. All right, here's the truth. Of course it's about your people. Just don't say it out loud. It doesn't work in marketing. Nobody believes that you have better people. Just have better people. Hire slowly, train them well, hold them accountable. They will retain your best patients. But telling me that you have better people doesn't mean anything. Now here's the caveat to that rule, and it's an important one. Specificity leads to credibility. The more specific the claim, the more credible the claim. You can't tell me that your people just care more. Nobody believes it. But if you say, listen, our lead doctor wrote the textbook that trained 80% of the people in our industry, then your people make the difference. Right? We have 3 of our dentists that serve on a national advisory board that sets the policy for our whole industry, then your people make the difference. Just give me something specific. We get this all the time, right? Honesty, integrity, and trust. At First National, right? We are telling you that we're not going to cheat you. I mean, all these things are incredibly important. They just don't work in terms of your marketing. Do your patients come first? For us, it's all about the patient. Of course it is. Who else is it about? Doesn't mean anything. This one we get all the time. We are passionate about it. Nobody cares about your passion. These are all important things. Oh, this is the one that gets me. What makes you different? We really listen to our patients and we tailor our solutions to meet their individual needs. Everybody does. Or you tell me how many years of combined experience. These things, they're just no longer effective in marketing. I understand where you're coming from, but we've got to do better in this. It's no longer about your competency. It's no longer about what you do well. It's what do you do better than others. Now, there has to be a certain amount of content that establishes our credentials, right? You have to tell them what your credentials. Here's our expertise. Here's what we can do. I got that. But what do we lead with? Something different or special, and that comes from a deeper dive. And I don't have time in a 40-minute presentation to go deep, but I want you to go deep back at your practice. I want you to have a conversation with your team and say, listen, facilitate this as part of a staff meeting, saying, listen, I know what I think makes us great. I want to know what you think makes us great. Not what makes us capable and qualified and competent and a good choice, but what do you think we do so well that makes us a better choice than others? And don't let your staff say things like, well, we really care about our patients. It doesn't work. Everybody says it. Make them think deep. Come up with some ideas. Come up with a top 10 list. Maybe something that says, we're the only practice that offers X or Y, right? Unexpected, stand out. What is it that makes you a better choice? Here's number 2. Fix anything and everything that isn't great in your practice. Because people will remember and they'll talk about you to everyone. Anything. It's a person with a bad attitude at your front desk. It's something that's not clean, something that's outdated. Because we all, in business, we all grew up in a world, basic guest relations philosophy, that said the average person with a positive experience will tell 2 or 3 people, right? But somebody with a negative experience is going to tell 10 people. We've all heard that, right? My friends, none of that's true anymore. Now we tell thousands of people. Now we tell millions of people. We don't tell 10, we tell millions. You don't think that's true? Just drag a paying customer off your airline. See how fast that spreads, right? We tell everybody. So crucial for you as you examine your customer experience, is there anything that isn't great? Because if something that's not great, it will be shared and it will spread, and it's really hard to get your reputation back. Don't believe anybody who says it's about quality. It is for your current patients. Quality is incredibly important. But how people feel about us. There's a school of thought that says, in purchasing and hiring and contracting, we make decisions emotionally and we justify them intellectually. Now, I'm not saying that we're being overly emotional. It's saying we make decisions, purchasing, because we want to. Make them want to. As you show, as you model, and saying, here's what we can do, and they go, I want that. And they'll justify it because I can afford that. Here's what my insurance does. I can do this much time away from work. But make them want it. And by doing that, we have to look at everything. Do we have policies or procedures or anything that frustrates our prospects? Because oftentimes we create policies and procedures to make life easier for our team. Not intentionally annoying our customers, but as we look at things that, well, here's our policy. And I mean, how many times do you say no? Sorry, we can't do that. I have a brand new book that I just turned into my publisher about 3 weeks ago. It's going to be out next year. It's called Why Customers Leave and How to Win Them Back. And one of the things I talk about a lot is how many times do we say, oh, sorry, we can't do that, or no, we don't. And there's ways of dealing. Sometimes the answer is no, but the better answer is, well, let me tell you what we can do. Or no, we don't do it, but let me give you a referral as we cross-pollinate. But we have things that frustrate people, like we have websites with contact forms, but no phone number. No, not as much in the dental field. You understand what those emergency times are like, but how often do you get frustrated when you go to a website and there's a contact form and no phone number and no email address? And I talk to CEO clients of mine. I say, what's with the contact form? And this gentleman says, well, that's how we want them to contact us. I said, well, that's clear, but where's the phone number? And honest to God, here was the answer I got. Well, if we put the phone number, people are going to call. And I'm like, yeah. And I said, but that's what they want to do. I mean, put the phone number. He says, oh, God, they'll call all day. I'm like, is that not what your customers... Is there anything that makes it difficult to get a hold of you, to get a hold of a real person? Those are the things that get very frustrating. Look at every touch point. Design it in a way and saying, is that the way it should be done? Can it be done better? Can it be done faster? Can it be done in a way that's a little more memorable? And this takes a little time on your part. Sit down with your team and walk through an expected scenario. What's the first place that they look? They go online. When you Google it, are you there on first page? Do you show up? What are the words that make you show up? When you go to your website, what do they see? Have you done a comparison with your competitors' websites? Are we saying the same thing? Because if you can't see a big difference, I guarantee your prospects can't. The first time they call, the first time they're in the office, what is it that could make that special in a way that makes them want to talk about you to others as well? We've all heard about the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat people like you want to be treated. I don't believe in that. My colleague Jim Cathcart talks about the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they would have done to themselves. In other words, don't treat people like you want to be treated. Treat them like they want to be treated. Because in many cases, you are nothing like them. If you have a young staff and young hygienists, but your patients are much older, where is that disconnect? The way they want to be treated isn't exactly the way they want to be treated. Know your customers. Go through scenarios and say, here's what an average customer, let's go through a profile. What do they hate? What do they fear? What would they love? And what are other choices that they have? Have a discussion about it. You know, maybe one of our average patients may be an older woman, or maybe a woman in her 50s. She's recently divorced. She's more concerned of her appearance. She's back on the market. Maybe it's a gentleman in the same situation. Maybe somebody's getting a new job. What would they want? What would thrill them? What frightens them? You have those discussions. It's so much easier to tailor and create a customer experience that's worth, not just worth staying and worth converting to a patient, but worth them talking about, becoming an ambassador for your organization. And here's the final thing in the few minutes I've got left. None of this means anything if we are not very, very visible. Your biggest challenge is not your competitors, honestly. For most of you, it's anonymity, right? If they don't know who you are, they can't buy what you're selling. Even as you're looking at reciprocal referral relationships with other dentists within your area of practice, are there new people in the field? Some of those long-standing relationships, people are retiring, people are transitioning. Have we made inroads and effort to develop relationships? Because we all know things have changed. Those things that traditionally were always referred to, the periodontist and the prosthodontist and the endodontist and others, how much of those are being done in-house? Not blaming anybody, it's the reality. Some people have long-standing relationships, and those, whether they're transitioning away with corporate dentistry, with all of the changes, are we being assertive in terms of raising our profile, making sure that people know who you are or you're not even an option? Look at those people who are self-referring. Ask questions. What do they watch? What do they read? Where do they recreate and congregate and dine and connect? And are you where they are? We used to talk about traditional marketing, what we called push marketing. You got an ad, we buy ad space. We have a press release, we send it out. We paint our building a bright color, we hire a kid to wave on the corners at cars dressed in a costume character. That actually still works sometimes. But today, what I call visibility marketing is being visible where they are. What are the events that they're attending? What are the conferences that they're going to? What are the events that they're with their kids? What are the devices and the YouTube channels? And where are they getting their information? You have to be where they are. And there's so many great examples. How are we being a safer choice? How are we helping people understand what it's like to do business with us before they do business with us? And Panda Express is a great example because it's sampling, right? Panda Express most often is in the most competitive environment imaginable. They're in a food court. How would you do business differently if your nearest competitor was 10 steps away? Oh, and your next nearest competitor, 10 steps away, right? There's so many choices. You can walk to anyone in seconds. So they take their number one seller, which is orange chicken, put it at the end of that toothpick, right? Sample, because they know if they can get it in your mouth, they've got you. It's Sam's Club and Costco on a Saturday. You can feed a family of 12 at Costco on a Saturday, right? Samples everywhere. We were going to talk about that with our oldest daughter. When she gets married, we're going to do the rehearsal dinner at Costco and just tell everybody the hors d'oeuvres are in the back of the store, right? But here's the point. When you sell in bulk, it's not a safe purchase, is it? Because they're, I mean, I might buy something at the grocery store I haven't had, but I'm not buying a 20-pound bag of it, right? So they sample. What does it look like for you? It's before and after pictures, of course, but it's the testimonials. And my friends, those have changed. We used to have somebody write down so-and-so, Dr. So-and-so was so great to work with. I highly recommend them. Today it's on video. Because here's the reality. Everybody in this room knows this. You've had scenarios where we do the reveal, right? You're doing restorative implant dentistry, and somebody gets done with the case, and then you hand them the mirror, you hold the mirror up in front of them. And it's the same reaction, right? Because you've all seen it. Suddenly they get the mirror in front of them and they go, huh? Oh my God. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you. No, I'm not making fun of it. It's legitimate. And then they cry and they say, why did I wait? Oh my God. You're a miracle worker. Thank you so much. Right? How many of you have the courage at that moment to take out your cell phone and go, would you say that again? Is that horrifying to you to think about that? Here's the reality. Most of them would love to do it. It is the most authentic. There are very few industries that do the miracle work that you do that's so aesthetically in your face, literally. And you get those authentic tears, that authentic gratitude, that wonderful after picture that will literally change their lives, and they know it at that moment. And they want to tell everybody. And you hold up that phone and you say, listen, it would mean, I am so thrilled. It would mean the world. Listen, if you're not comfortable, don't. And most of them will say, yeah, absolutely. God, I think I look horrible. I've just been all right, let me fix up my hair, right? And just have them say, just look right there and just say what you just said to me. And then you get somebody saying, Dr. So-and-so is a miracle worker. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, if I'm that prospect and I'm searching and I put in your name and I search it on YouTube or Google or something else, is that going to be impactful for me? Of course it is. The market has changed. How we communicate has changed. How we access information and what we trust has changed. I'm very short on time here. But how do we use social media and others as well? The number one search engine in the world, of course, is Google. What's the number two? It's YouTube. If there was ever an industry that was built for video, you get yourself on there. You don't have to hire an expensive crew. You can, but take that little camera and put it on a ledge, put it on a stand, and say, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. Let me tell you why I do what I do. Let me tell you about the special training. Let me tell you about the people here and our approach to doing. So much has changed. Let me take you through that. People used to want to get on the TV channels, on Good Morning America and Today Show. Now we create our own channels on YouTube and others. Share that information. I travel around the world, and I take my little phone, I stick it on the ledge, I'm like, hi, David Avrin, the visibility coach. I'm here in Dubai. It's unbelievable. I'm at the top of the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, 200 stories, 57 elevators. It is twice the height of the Sears Tower. And I go on and talk about, standing out and whatever, 'cause it's part of my brand, and then a little humor. Anyway, I think I'll go skiing in the mall because it's Dubai. David Avrin, the visibility coach, reminding you it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And I take it and I upload it, and I'm findable. If you go on YouTube right now, anywhere in the world, because it's the internet, and you type in on YouTube, marketing speaker, I am #1 in the world. In the world. You type in best marketing speaker, I am #1. It's not because I'm the greatest marketing speaker. No, friends, honestly, the internet doesn't judge. It has nothing to do with that. It's because I have content. If you want people to find you, you have to be findable. I have fun doing all of this, but this is my livelihood. This feeds my family. I take it seriously. Everything that you're going to learn is so over my head. I'm so in awe of your brilliance and what you can do to cut holes in people and replace body parts. You are miracle workers. But how much more powerful can it be if you have more patience to do it? Here's the reality: marketing, social media. If you want people to be interested, you have to be interested or interesting. All right, I'm out of time. Real quickly, make sure you have a newsletter, an e-zine. Keep in contact with people on a regular basis. Find me in the back or something. If you want to give me a business card, I'll send you all these slides and everything else as well. Write. Leave a tangible trail of wisdom. Blogs, articles, books. Teach others what you do. I love this old African proverb that says, when an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. So how do we do it? Here's our 3 points again, real quick. Number 1, stand out unexpected ways. You not just what you do well, but what do you do better than others? Fix anything and everything that's not great. And of course, be very, very visible. This is who I am. You can connect with me. I'll show you that I model the things that I talk about. One more story, but I don't want to be rude to the person next to. We'll skip that this time. This is who I am. Find me in the back. Give me a business card. I'll send you all of this. Thank you for your attention on a long afternoon. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David Avrin.